Hello friends, welcome to PLI Legality. Today I am going to discuss with you law relating to temporary injunctions. So first of all we must know what do you mean by injunctions. So basically injunction is a judicial remedy. It is a judicial remedy by which the person is restrained from doing some act, restrained from doing a specified act, which is called prohibitory injunction, because here the person is prohibited from doing something, so that is why it is called prohibitory injunction. And the second is when the person is compelled to undo some wrong, that he has committed some wrong, so the court is compelling him to undo that wrong. That is what we say mandatory injunction. So basically, from the nature of the order, we can classify the injunction into two kinds, that is prohibitory or mandatory. That what kind of order is passed, either it is a restraining order or it is compelling order. For example, where the landlord is trying to evict the tenant illegally and forcibly by adopting some illegal means, then in such a case tenant has the remedy to file a civil suit for permanent injunction restraining the landlord from doing so, that is he cannot evict him illegally and forcibly. Similarly, if the person has done some wrong, for example, let's say एक लैंडलॉर्ड है, लैंडलॉर्ड ने क्या किया, टेनेंट को बाहर निकालने के लिए इसने इसकी इलेक्ट्रिसिटी सप्लाई को कट कर दिया, इसकी वाटर सप्लाई को कट कर दिया. तो इस केस में द टेनेंट इज आस्किंग हिम कि लैंडलॉर्ड कैन नॉट अडॉप्ट द इलीगल मीन्स, एट द सेम टाइम ही इज ऑल्सो आस्किंग हिम कि ये इस जो सप्लाई कट की है इसको दोबारा से चालू करवाए. सो दैट इज नाउ द टेनेंट इज आस्किंग हिम टू undo some wrong, जो इसने गलत किया है, that he cannot cut the electricity supply and water supply, so he cannot interfere in the peaceful possession of the tenant, so he did that. तो इसको undo करवाने के लिए, so such an order is mandatory injunction. So on the basis of the nature of the order passed by the court, the injunctions may be classified into two kinds, prohibitory as well as mandatory injunction, prohibitory and mandatory injunction. Now the injunction may also be temporary or perpetual. So what is the difference between temporary and perpetual is, perpetual injunction के लिए फाइल होता है सूट, that the party is restrained from doing something for, ठीक है जी, a decree is passed against him for in perpetuity. Whereas temporary injunction की क्या होती है, एक application फाइल होती है during the pendency of the suit. So application is filed during the pendency of the suit, कि जब तक ये केस चल रहा है तब तक इसको रोक दिया जाए. So its duration is temporarily, so that is why it is called temporary injunction. So in the above example, the tenant, if in this case the tenant is filing a suit against the landlord for injunction, for permanent injunction, that restraining him in perpetuity, that he cannot evict him illegally and forcibly. In this case he is filing a suit for perpetual injunction, but at the same time he wants the court to pass an order that during the pendency of this suit the landlord must not adopt any of this measure. So it is called temporary injunction. So temporary injunction की हमेशा ही एक application file होती है during the pendency of the suit. Now our concern is basically with regard to this, the application for temporary injunction. So let's how to read this topic. Temporary injunctions होती क्या है, तो सबसे पहले what are temporary injunctions होती क्या है. So to know what are temporary injunctions, for what time period they can be issued, we need to read section 36 and section 37 of Specific Relief Act, because in these provisions section 36 of Specific Relief Act provides that the injunctions which are in the nature of preventive relief are of two kinds, that is temporary and perpetual. And section 37 clause 1 of CRPC ये डिफाइन करता है टेम्परेरी इंजंक्शन होती क्या है, कि टेम्परेरी इंजंक्शन का जो ऑर्डर है इट कैन बी पास्ड फॉर अ स्पेसिफाइड टाइम और until the further orders of the court. and it may be issued at any stage of the suit. And the provisions are governed by CPC. So this is section 37 provides. Now when we go to CPC, section 94 clause C of CPC creates the jurisdiction of the civil court to issue interim injunction. So it creates the jurisdiction that the civil courts have the jurisdiction to pass interim injunction order. 94 clause C specifically provides that, and it specifically says that these are the supplementary proceedings, and in these proceedings the court has the power to issue injunction. Now what is the procedure with regard to issuing the injunction? That is provided under order 39 rule 1 to 5 of CPC. So order 39 rule 1 to 5 CPC deals with the various grounds and the procedure laid down for issuing the injunctions. Then section 95 of CPC provides that if any person obtains the injunction illegally by giving a false statement, false claim, in such a case he may also be ordered to pay compensation at the tune of maximum of rupees 50,000. And lastly, order 43 of CPC, it provides when the order granting injunction is passed, the aggrieved party has the remedy to file an appeal against such order. So it is an appealable order. Now the most important thing is, since the relief of granting temporary injunction is a discretionary relief, that is, it is the discretion of the court whether to grant such relief or not. So how to exercise this discretion? There are principles laid down by the Honorable Supreme Court in the Gujarat Bottling Company case, that what are the principles while granting temporary injunctions. So we'll discuss all these things in brief. Now let's start with section 36 of specific relief act, what it says. If we read section 36 of specific relief act, it says preventive relief is granted at the discretion of the court by injunction, temporary or perpetual. So basically section 36 provides that the relief of preventive, जो relief है which is preventive in nature, it is at the discretion of the court, and it may be temporary or perpetual. So it is a discretionary relief. Then section 37 clause 1 specifically provides temporary injunctions are such as are to continue until a specific time or until the further order of the court. So temporary injunctions कब तक continue करेंगे? Until a specific time, कि कुछ टाइम तक करेंगे. जैसे कि अगर एक सूट फाइल होता है, इंटरिम इंजंक्शन ग्रांट होगी, तो इट विल कंटिन्यू टिल द डिस्पोजल ऑफ द सूट. तो until a specific time or until further order of the court, कि जब तक कोर्ट आगे कंटिन्यू नहीं करती तब तक के लिए ये इंजंक्शन का ऑर्डर कंटिन्यू रहेगा. एंड at what stage may be granted? So they may be granted at any stage of the suit, and the provisions with regard to this injunction are provided under CPC. So CPC is order 39 of CPC, deals with law relating to temporary injunctions. Now, so from this section 36 and 37, one thing is very clear, that temporary injunction, that a relief of granting temporary injunction is discretionary in nature. Discretion always means judicial discretion that is based on sound principles of law. So these principles, that is how to exercise this discretion, are laid down in the Gujarat Bottling Company case, in which the Supreme Court laid down that the Supreme Court has to see whether the court has to see while granting injunction, number one, that whether the prima facie case is made out or not. Prima facie case means that if the plaintiff's case is proved, that if whatever the plaintiff says it is true, then he has a good case that his right will be there. So in this case, it is not the case of the defendant is to be seen. While granting injunction, it is the prima facie case of the plaintiff which is required to be seen. Then the second is balance of convenience. So since it is a discretionary relief and therefore the court has to balance the convenience, that is what will be the loss if the injunction is not granted and what will be the loss if the injunction is granted, and the benefit. The court will balance these two conflicting interests and then see that in whose favor balance of convenience lies, and accordingly will decide the claim with regard to injunction. And third is irreparable loss. Irreparable loss, that is loss beyond repair. Now if we see an example to understand this, that how to find out the prima facie case and how to decide whether the balance of convenience lies in favor of any person or not, or irreparable loss is there or not. So let's see an example. Let's say कुछ shopkeepers थे and they were allotted a place by the municipal committee to construct temporary shops. Now the municipal committee has issued them a license and they were charging a license fee monthly, let's say rupees 1500 per month. Now what happened? Municipal committee issued them a notice to evict within 5 days. Otherwise municipal committee says that we will get it evicted by way of using force. So now these shopkeepers were aggrieved by this notice that we are basically in the possession of this temporarily constructed shops and running our businesses. Now the municipal committee, on the basis of short notice, is trying to evict us illegally and forcibly. So they file a suit for permanent injunction on the ground that they are actually the tenant of the municipal committee and they are entitled to peaceful possession. And if they are to be evicted, they can be evicted only in accordance with law. By issuing a notice, they cannot be evicted. Whereas the claim of the municipal committee is that they are only their licensees and permitted to construct a temporary shop, and therefore they have this right to revoke their license and get them evicted. So in this case, the case of the plaintiff is that they are the tenants and entitled to peaceful possession. So if they prove this thing, then they have the good case and they are entitled to the injunction order. So they made out the prima facie case. So to decide whether the prima facie case is made out or not, we are not concerned with the plea of the defendant that they are saying they are licensee or not. So it is the tribal issue that whether they are tenants or licensee. This is a tribal issue which is to be decided by court at the stage of trial. So in this case, prima facie case is made out in favor of the shopkeepers. Now with regard to balance of convenience. So if the injunction is not granted, what will happen? If the injunction is not granted, the municipal committee will evict the shopkeepers. And the shopkeepers will not be able to run their business and will be suffering from their earning their livelihood. Whereas if the injunction is granted, then what will happen? The shopkeeper will be continuing to conduct their business and municipal committee will be getting their license fee as well. So in this case, the balance of convenience lies in favor of the shopkeepers, since the loss occurred to the shopkeeper if the injunction is not granted is greater than the injunction is granted, which will occur to the municipal committee. Then irreparable loss. So if the injunction is not granted and the shopkeepers are evicted, then it is the loss which is beyond repair. Now they cannot be allowed to construct their shops, they cannot be allowed to conduct their business in the same shop, so they will suffer a irreparable loss. So that is why it is a good case for granting temporary injunctions. So this is how we decide whether a prima facie case is made out or not. That whatever the plaintiff says and the defendant says, there is an issue which is tribal, which is to be decided at the stage of trial. But whatever the plaintiff says, if it is taken on the face of it, then the plaintiff has a good case. We say he has made out a prima facie case. Then we have to balance the convenience, that if the injunction is not granted and if the injunction is granted, then what will be the loss and which will cause more loss. And irreparable loss is that if the injunction is not granted, then the plaintiff will suffer from irreparable loss. So this is what we need to see while deciding whether the injunction application is to be allowed or not. Now let's go to the provisions of section 94 clause C, which is creating the jurisdiction of civil courts to decide the interim injunction applications. Section 94 clause 94 deals with supplemental proceeding. So it says, in order to prevent the ends of justice from being defeated, the court may, so it is a discretionary relief which has to be exercised by after seeing whether the prima facie case is made out or not, balance of convenience is there or not, or irreparable loss is there or not. So after deciding this, so this is how to exercise this discretion if it is so prescribed. Prescribed means section 2 clause 16 of CPC, that is prescribed by rules. So what are the rules with regard to injunctions? That is order 39, rule 1 to 5 of CPC, which are dealing with, which is prescribed under this rule. So I'm going to clause C only, which says if it is so prescribed, grant a temporary injunction. So it is basically the court in order to prevent the ends of justice may grant a temporary injunction, and in case of disobedience commit the person guilty thereof to the civil prison and order that his property be attached and sold. So basically section 94 created the jurisdiction to grant a temporary injunction and also take an action against the person who violates such order. So this is the jurisdiction created, and now how to exercise this jurisdiction, it is provided in order 39 of CPC. Now let's see order 39 CPC. So if we see order 39 CPC, then you will see the provisions are divided. Provisions can be divided into these parts, that what are the grounds for granting injunction, on which the injunction may be granted. The grounds, they are provided in rule 1 and rule 2. Rule 1 lays down 3 grounds. What are 3 grounds? Number 1, if the property in dispute is in danger of being alienated, wasted, damaged, or sold by the party. So on this ground, both the plaintiff and defendant can file an application for injunction. The second ground is if the defendant, on this particular ground, it is only the plaintiff who can file an application, but on the first ground, both plaintiff and defendant can file the application. Second ground is if the defendant threatens to dispose of the property in order to defraud the creditors. Third ground is that if the defendant threatens to cause the injury to the plaintiff in relation to the property in dispute. So these are the 3 grounds laid down in order 1. The first is if the property in dispute is in danger of being wasted or alienated. The second is if the defendant threatens to dispose of the property in order to defraud the creditors. And third is if the defendant threatens to cause the injury to the plaintiff in relation to the property in dispute. These are the 3 grounds laid down under rule 1 of order 39 of CPC. Rule 2 lays down that the injunction may also be granted in order to restrain the person from breach of contract or causing any other injury. So these are the 4 grounds laid down in rule 1 and rule 2. Rule 1 lays down 3 grounds, that is if the property in dispute is in danger of being wasted or alienated, that is if the defendant threatens to dispose of the property in order to defraud the creditors, or the defendant is threatening to cause the injury to the plaintiff in relation to the property in dispute. Rule 2 deals with that the injunction may also be granted in case of there is threat to breach of contract or any other injury. Now, these grounds are not exhaustive. These grounds are not exhaustive. If the court feels that the order of injunction must be passed and it is not covered by these rules, then the court may also grant injunctions under section 151 CPC, that is under its inherent powers. So these are the grounds for injunction. Then order 39, the second thing order 39 deals with is the effect of disobedience. That if the such order is not obeyed, then what action the court may take? That is order 39 rule 2a. Order 39 rule 2a lays down that the court may also pass an order with regard to arrest of the person who has disobeyed such a order, and he can also attach the property. Then the procedure is laid down in rule 3 and rule 3a. Rule 3 and rule 3a. The procedure with regard to is, whenever the application for temporary injunction is filed, then what the court will do after admitting the application, the court may issue simple notice, or the court may also issue notice plus grant ex parte injunction. So without hearing the opposite party, the court has the power to grant ex parte injunction. This is also called ad interim injunction. Ad interim injunction. However, the proviso to rule 3 deals with this procedure, and rule 3 deals with simple notice. So if the court issues simply notice, then the opposite party will appear and file the reply to this application, and the court will decide the application. But in case the notice is issued along with the injunction order, in such a case the applicant is required to serve the party on the same day or the very next day, and file an affidavit that he has complied with such order, that he has supplied to the opposite party the order, the application, along with all the annexures upon which he is relying, and he has to submit an affidavit with regard to the same, that he has complied with the order on the same day or on the next day. So if the application ad interim injunction application is granted in favor, then rule 3a lays down that such an application is to be decided within 30 days. Then next is whether the order can be modified, varied or set aside. So order of injunction once passed can be varied, modified or set aside. So yes, it can be done, which is laid down in rule 4. So again, rule 4 lays down the two different procedures, that in case the court has granted injunction after hearing the opposite party, then it can be changed, verified or set aside only under changed circumstances. But where the injunction is granted without hearing the opposite party, if the party has made a false statement, the court may also modify or set aside such order. Then the rule 5, it deals with that the injunction order passed against the corporation is also binding upon its officers. So these are briefly the provisions. These are briefly the provisions of order 39 rule 1 to 5 CPC. Then section 95 of CPC, as we earlier discussed, it deals with that if any person obtains injunction order by giving a false statement, then he may be ordered to pay compensation at the tune of rupees maximum at 50,000. And once the application is filed, application for injunction is filed, the court may either allow the application, that is, the court pass the order granting injunction, or the court may dismiss the application, that is, refuse to grant the injunction. So if the court pass the order granting injunction, such an order is appealable under order 43 CPC, that is, the respondent has the remedy to file an appeal under order 43 subrule 1 subrule R of CPC. Whereas if the application is dismissed where the court has refused to grant injunction, such an order is revisable. It is not an appealable order. So this is all about injunctions. Hope you understood this concept. So thank you very much.